Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Wudi as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen from an acts named Ikimonogakari. Actually, it's an album called Neutral. We're going to be listening through number 9 today, a track that, as I understand it, is translated to love poetry. So we're going to listen through that track from start to finish. I'm going to hear what we think. Let's go, and I'll put the lyrics up on the screen so that people can read through those as we go along. Oh, it's so pretty with the sound of those toms, the glissando on the... Hang on a minute, are they balanced now? Such a wide mix with the brass, the piano, the guitars. Got a jazzy kind of vibe to it. So active with those different guitar lines and the piano being relatively low-key in the background. Great transitions with the brass as well. Melodically, I mean. Similar rhythmic and melodic phrasing from the vocalist. Great swing groove there on the kit as well. Fantastic use of those toms and snares there. Major lift here. Oh, her head voice is tremendous. I like her chest voice, which she had for most of the verse. But when she went high there into her upper range, that was fantastic. Are we double tracking this part? It kind of sounds like we're double tracking it on the vocal side of things. I was kind of expecting a lead line to go there, you know, to replace the vocals, but to have the accompaniment behind is great. You know, it's fine. That sense of unison between the guitars and the brass, it's just a really fun concept there for them to put in there, especially with the use of the blues pentatonic scale that they're using there. Really competently performed. Returning to those vocal melodies there in that later part. And that bam, 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 it's a traditional kind of staple of this type of music. That kind of break there. Everything stops and goes boom, boom, boom because of the constant groove and movement in those verse and bridge sections. But it's nonetheless effective here. Nothing wrong with sticking to the fundamentals, you know. The fun part is that I can understand a little bit of it. Mashima sho. I can understand little bits of Japanese. I studied like a tiny little bit, but I don't know well enough to speak it or to read it. It's tricky because you got to learn the symbols mean, and then you got to learn how the symbols make words. I suppose it's just like English though, isn't it? You know. Letters are just different types of symbols. Great use of brass though in the solo section here for that trumpet. Like the trumpet seems like a really fun instrument to learn. Apparently you get really messed up lips though, like you scuff your lips quite a bit if you do it for too long or with improper technique. But aside from that, it sounds really dope. More about the motif, I think, than showing off the individual talents of the musicians involved, you know. Back into that hook. Cool. Double stop? Triple stop? Damn, dude. What a pleasant track to listen to today. I wonder what they're going to do to finish, though. You know what I mean? How are they going to finish this? What's the big finish going to be? I mean, I don't mind a double chorus when the hook line itself is this catchy and when it's such a groove. I'm sure I'd feel a little bit more emotionally connected to it if I understood the language natively, you know? Oh, blast beats? Oh, the soft finish there. Extensions on the keys there for that last part. What a wonderful start to a recording session. I've got a few reviews to do this afternoon before the anime intro live stream that I think would have been the one yesterday because I'm putting this out on Sunday. Yeah. But I really had a great time with this track. I'm really thankful that I had the opportunity to listen to Ikimonogakari. Because this is my review of this track. What do I think it's about? I think that this track is about someone that's maybe like love poetry, talking about the ins and outs, the throes of being in love, what it means, that tension, that grip there, how it affects you and the others around you. That's what I imagine this track might be about. There was a lot of drama and theatrics to this track. The vocals carried that well, I think. It wasn't like she was screaming or anything like that. She had that kind of lounge, kind of jazz kind of vibe there with the big band aesthetic. And she still managed to dominate despite, I mean, the vocalist was able to dominate without, despite all the huge guitar, drum, bass, brass parts, the keys around her. The singer was still the focal point, and I've got to appreciate that and show some love for that because it can be difficult to keep that when the composition is as relatively complicated as it is. There weren't a whole lot of lead parts competing or vying for attention, but the thing we had going on here was that the motif itself was harmonically and melodically and rhythmically complicated. So yeah, she did really well there. Great head and chest voice there. They knew not to be too explorative with the melodies and scale choices when there was already so many notes going on in the overall harmony of the track. And the harmonies that came in, I think, in the hook section were fantastically smooth. It was sensational. It was a really confident performance, and the singer should be proud of herself. The song itself at 4 minutes 40 is well structured. I think that there's great use of that time with the verse, verse, bridge, and chorus parts, with the instrumental sort of bits in like the intro. Like we had like little instrumental breaks between like the chorus and the verse. And then we also had a brass solo there, which was fantastic. We even had a double chorus there where, because we'd instantiated quite a catchy hook, I didn't mind personally that it was done twice. The only thing I would say is that I think there were some rooms where we could have had other lead elements, like there were parts which sounded a bit naked that could have had more going on, like a guitar-y bit, then maybe trading off to the brass or the trumpets, But aside from that, that's not really like a criticism or a critique so much. It's just me being greedy and wanting more. And that's okay. If this was enough for Ikimonogakari, I don't know how to pronounce the re sound. It's hard for me. Gakari. That's what matters. And it's still an absolute bop of a tune. Really strong single. I think that the performances were fantastic. The keys were nice and vibrant and punchy, rolling around that mid-range there to kind of smooth out the guitars on the left and right side. There might have been one clean-toned and one sort of distorted or overdriven there, which sort of meshed well with each other and made it sound bigger than it needed to be, bigger and fuller than it had any business being. I was really impressed with that. The bass line in the bottom, I'm not sure whether that was an electric or a double bass. I wouldn't have been surprised either way. But either way, they smashed it out of the park there. I think this is one of those tracks where you could have gone away with either, regardless of the stylistic preference of having a double bass. I think that there was enough going on to not need the buzz of a double bass there, that low end kind of characteristic there. But they stuck well within those root notes and were supportive across the triads as well. The drums were fantastic with some of those fills, but they just kept that swing groove on the ride going strong the entirety of the time. And it was such an important thing for us to pocket on the drums at this point, because I don't think having a sort of solo sections or anything would have necessarily helped the track or benefited it. When you had such a strong singer, you really need to do those fill sections and be tight with the rest of the band and keep everything huge. It needs to be the singer on stage supported by the other instruments. That's part of what kind of jazz and is about, you know, this big band style of music. It's wonderful, but you need to have a great synergy and chemistry between the members, and we definitely had that here. The brass on top was a lovely mid-high range element here that worked alongside the vocals not at the same time though. I like the fact that if you think about the singer's head voice, kind of working with the brass near that range was a smart idea when they weren't singing or telling the story. I think that was a great sort of palette cleanser there tonally to have the brass kind of do a solo section there, and it's something I wouldn't have expected. There were little bits of glissando as well as transitional effect on the keys and stuff. The motif itself was very bombastic again and theatrical with huge, big kind of major and minor triads there with extensions occasionally. We didn't make it too harmonically technical, but you know, the rhythms where there were some interesting 16th triplets and 8th sort of triplet grooves there. Lots of dynamic range to the performance as well. We were clearly very comfortable on our various instruments. I don't think there was a note out of place. It was just a really tight performance. All in all, I'm really impressed by this track, Love Poetry. There was a great synergy between the vocalist and the instrumentalists, and the composition was tight with light bits of developmental stuff going on as we went through it. Very, very happy with it. The production, the recording, mixing, mastering, that side of things on a studio was commercial grade. Vocals were filtered and EQ'd happily. The instruments sounded nice and full and like it was a live performance, which is what you need from this genre. You can't have it sound like it's too sterilized. And a nice and wide stereo field, you know, lots going around, circling around there. No weird resonances in the frequency spectrum. Nice leveling and control of the various elements of the mix without them kind of bumping up against each other in the wrong way. There was a lack of sidechaining, I think, with the drum kit because you had an acoustic kit that just wanted to have more of a sort of a raw kind of connection to the others without forcing its way through, which I appreciate. And the bass was nicely balanced as well in the mix, so you didn't have any issues there. It's really great studio production there. You know, I liked the dynamic range again. There were moments where it kind of came down a little bit, but then went back up, etc. And for the most part, it was quite loud, but not in a way where it was a pumping. So the mastering, limiting, compression was handled well. I mean, this is effectively my SP Patrons video of our Love Poetry by Ikimonogakari. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians via their various social medias. And usually I say in this crazy world or something like that, I don't know why I went on that tangent, support them via their social medias, and also go show them some love and let them know that they're appreciated, your local musicians. And I'll finish this here. I'll catch you in the next SP Patron video. Spiderhands out.